This is the worst case of kidney stones I've ever seen. Check out the Zomboo website at zomboo.com.
Hey, Zomboo, what are you reading?
Oh, it's my new Zomboo scrapbook with over 130 pages of Zomboo, featuring the history of the show, never-before-seen photos from the show, behind-the-scene photos of the cast and crew, movie reviews, mini-Z jokes, scary picture gallery, and photos of the Rat Girl.
And me too.
Now you can get your very own copy of the Zomboo scrapbook. Just go to zomboo.com, click on Buy Stuff, and order your Zomboo scrapbook today. You can even get it personally autographed.
Sit down, Doctor. Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you.
Cigar?
Oh, I believe not, thanks.
Is there something I can get you?
No, thank you. I'm quite all right the way I am. As a matter of fact, I just finished a rather large lunch.
Not celebrating, I hope.
Celebrating? I'm afraid I don't follow.
Excuse me, that was a little below the belt. I was referring to your envious position of being personally inside the story. You have that rare opportunity that comes all too seldom to any of us to scoop this as well as the other newspapers on that television broadcast of yours. By the time we go to press and hit the streets, the story will be almost a follow-up.
Well, I'm afraid I won't be broadcasting the story to anyone except you yourself. You see, I've decided to give up my radio and television work completely. I should never have gone into it in the first place.
And you should never have gotten that toupee either.
I realize now from things that have come to pass that a scientist is best suited to sit in front of a microscope, not a camera. At least one of my temperament is.
Dr. Munson, suppose you start at the beginning. Now, take it easy and try to remember everything that led up to last night. I believe it's important for me to fully understand each detail in its proper perspective.
Well, it all began when conscientious work in hypnotic regression, that is, regressing an individual past their present life to previous incarnations, began to interest science, and it was studied by myself and the rest of the staff at Cowan Research Foundation.
Did you fall asleep while you were studying it too?
This occurred in early September, on a Friday afternoon, just preceding the Labor Day weekend.
Gentlemen, Dr. Edmund Redding.
As Redding began to speak, it became immediately apparent
that he had no idea what he was saying.
this was taken with great surprise by those who had traveled thousands of miles to attend the lecture.
Where's that voice coming from? Who's talking?
He boldly brought out the fact that even though he and his staff believed firmly in the open transfer of new information in the field which he himself had learned because it had been built upon the shoulders of all who had worked before him, his present results would have to remain within the confines of his own group. Little time had elapsed before Redding found himself challenged openly to reveal his reasons for holding back the findings and new understandings of the Mayan civilization they knew had been brought about through his months of work in hypnosis with Ann Taylor. He was asked on several occasions questions that were basic in nature, and these were answered to a degree that would inhibit the further points that would naturally follow.
Listening to this guy is sheer torture. Shut up!
When he was literally pressured into a directly pointed corner of questioning, Redding simply refused to answer. In expressing his deep regret that most of those present would regard his decision in the matter as grossly a selfish one, he insisted it was justified. The fact remained that all findings were, at this point, inconclusive because of the lack of time he would need to verify factors that were inconsistent with the standards of the pyramid in Yucatan. It became more and more clear to the men who spoke out their disbeliefs, everything Redding had to say, that there must have developed within the group at Cowan a tremendous motivation for their secrecy. There was no doubting the fact that the motivation such as this was the age-old plague of man's lust for that ever-appearing treasure of gold. If this great fortune were to be uncovered by a group dedicated to science, and particularly members of the association, every research lab in existence should be allowed to share in an actual search. Redding maintained stubbornly that his interest was primarily that of proving or disproving the statements of Miss Taylor in her hypnotized state as a Mayan princess, and the reference to hidden chambers within the pyramids was not in effect necessarily pertaining to gold. The meeting was closed quietly, with Dr. Redding assuming an attitude of rather composed indifference to men who had for years supported his work.
Hey, Zomboo!
Oh, well, if it isn't my little pal, Minnie Z.
Who does the mummy see when he has back problems?
I don't know.
The chiropractor!
Do you like slapstick humor? And we'll be right back to our very scary movie right after these important messages from our sponsors. Hello, everybody. It's your old pal Zomboo reminding you to check us out on Instagram. We're posting new material every week with Miss Transylvania, the Rat Girl, Scary Picture Gallery, Officer Not So Friendly, and me, Zomboo. You can also follow Zomboo's House of Horror Movies on Facebook, YouTube, and Zomboo.com. And you can stream our show on the Monster Channel and Other Worlds TV on Roku. So be there and be scared.
Pressure normal. Pulse steady with slight increase. Probably nothing more than the anticipation factor. Now remember, we won't let you go any deeper than you did last night.
I understand.
Zomboo's a good show. Zomboo's a good show. Zomboo's a good show.
Hey, wake up! You're not getting out of this movie that easy.
Miss Taylor, can you speak to us?
No, but I'm pretty sure the narrator will have something to say.
Miss Taylor, do you hear me? Do you hear me?
I can hear you. I can see, as before, the ancient land. I see the mountains which surround a city of stone. Everything is of stone.
I think you're stoned.
I am part of the past and of the city in which I place myself in obedience to the ceremony of devotion and to the offering of hope before the shrine. I see a great chieftain who approaches in elegant splendor and is frightening, though his powerful form is surpassed by a known supreme wisdom. I am asked to never enter the pyramid, and yet I find myself unable to comply with my chieftain's request. I am compelled again and again to go into the pyramid.
Hey, you're going over the pyramid, sweetheart. Smell that, honey. Maybe you'll stop.
Hey! Get that off my face! It stinks!
Good evening. This is Douglas Bank with all the news from across the nation. Dr. Edmund Redding, who heads the staff at Cowan Research Foundation in Pasadena, has departed for Yucatan for what he has described as an objective, first-hand search of the Great Pyramid there. If you're wondering where the pyramid is located, it lies at the western tip of the North Yucatan border.
Sandwiched between Excalibur and Mandalay Bay. anything to get out of paying a cover charge.
You recognize it?
Yeah.
Cocktails! Keno! Cocktails! Keno!
We came all the way for this?
As the memory of Ann Taylor had functioned to the degree of pointing to the areas unknown to her present generation, the discovery of that which had filled the minds of everyone had become a reality. The metal used by the ancient people was indeed gold of the highest quality. Somewhere inside that pyramid lay a fortune as suspected, and the area itself was close at hand. A cold wave of something evil brought fear to the heart of Ann Taylor, who for the first time felt herself wrong in searching the pyramid. Her protests were based upon intuitive feeling that in some way a dreadful force of dark evil will exert itself upon all those present for entering into the catacombs and chambers that were forbidden to all but the Mayans themselves. It was found that a mathematical system of distance separated each opening from the other, and the approximate equation of squares would lead them from one chamber to a new one. Redding became more and more intent in his quest to dive deeper into the mysterious catacombs that he now firmly felt not only existed, but would ultimately turn up more than their wildest expectations. Even during the heat of his excitement, Redding was at all times alert to the possibility of their being followed by someone at the levels above them, and thought it best that one of the party take spot checks of both the outside and the areas covered to the present point.
Hey, stop that! What are you doing to that wall?
All right.
It's the gun monster!
As you may recall, we earlier in the week reported the details, as we knew them, of naturalist Edmund Redding's departure for Yucatan and of his quest for certain scientific data only yesterday morning, and has already touched off a sweeping fire of controversy in circles of anthropology and the scientific world in general. Our science editor, Dr. Frederick Munson, has the story.
From a telephone conversation I had with a colleague of mine, Dr. Eric Stroman of the Cowan Research Foundation, I learned of the incredible discoveries of the group who have now returned from Yucatan. The expedition, while proving to be one of the most startling in the history of anthropology, due to what was uncovered in the pyramid, was marred by the untimely death of Dr. Redding.
Why is he listening to that plant?
An embalmed creature whose age has been estimated at something near 2,000 years at the minimum, had risen from somewhere in the darkness of the pyramid to crush the body of Dr. Redding. Other members of the expedition were able to subdue the creature through the aid of gases that were brought along to test mineral contents, but unfortunately not in time to save the life of the expedition leader. The mummy, as it has been referred to up to this reporting, has been tied securely with ropes and transported to Pasadena, where it will be observed under laboratory conditions by members of the Cowan Research Foundation. Funeral services for Dr. Redding have been arranged for early next week.
Hello?
The scene's over. You can go home now.
Detective Hammond, Police Department. I'd like a word with the head of staff.
I'm sorry, the doctors aren't talking to anyone.
Just a minute, sir. We have to talk to the doctor.
I'm sorry, they're not talking to anyone.
Hello.
This is Stassi. Calling for Dr. Janney. He has a little job you can do for him.
Yeah? Well, listen, you better tell them that my price is going up a little. Well, you know, the cost of living and all that.
You'll be paid off good if you do everything right.
Okay, that sounds good. Who's the guy and when do you want it done?
Now, this is a little different. He wants you to steal a mummy from the Cowan Research Foundation and bring it on over to the lab.
I'm not sure I heard you right. Steal a what?
You read the publicity in the papers. A mummy. It's in the very back building of the Cowan Research Foundation. Hello?
Yeah, I got it. I think I heard you right the first time.
We're having coffee at the Star Cafe, 10th Street. Come on over and I'll give you more details.
Yeah, sure.
Who wrote this? Trick or treat! Who's your mummy? Kiss me goodnight.
Makes a good headline. Could sell some papers. Rouse a whole lot of interest. Yes, a story like this spread across the front page could increase our circulation temporarily anyway by 30, 40, maybe 50,000 copies. But I wish you'd tell me something, Doctor, because I'd truly like to know. Just what is your game?
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Perhaps it's me you don't understand. Perhaps your understanding is based upon an editor's need for a story to sell morning editions. And that's the only important thing for him. Is that your understanding of me, Doctor?
I don't know what you're driving at unless...
Unless I smell something rotten in Jamaica.
Wow, you got a really good nose.
If you think I've come to you with inaccurate facts, you're greatly mistaken. Everything is the truth, just the way it happened.
It's a shame that these facts can't be backed up by anyone except you. The men at Cowan Research won't talk to anyone.
That's because they're dead.
You know, it cost us almost $200 in makeup to see a proof like this. Harry, kill the mummy story.
Yeah, you can't fix this movie. Now don't forget, boys and ghouls and mummies and daddies, tune in next week for another very scary movie on Zomboo's House of Horror Movies.